Fair warning, this video will poorly spoil the entirety of the questions arc of Umineko. If at any point you find yourself interested in the story, stop there and then go and play it. This video will not convey the sheer amount of love I have for the story, and how amazing it really is. It is 150 hours of reading though, so if you're not interested in going through all that and just want to get into the answers arc, then I'm hoping this video will be good enough for that. Anyway, if you end up enjoying the video, please leave a like, share it around, and possibly even subscribe if you want to theorize during the streams. And now, without further ado, let's enter the board. Episode 1, Legend of the Golden Witch. Welcome to Rokujima. The Golden Witch extends you her heartfelt greetings. Before anything else, please make yourself at home. There's nothing to think too deeply about. Just be silent and take in the events in their entirety as they unfold. That is all that is asked of you. The difficulty level is standard. Let us at least begin on the trodden road. Behold the sweet fish river, running through my beloved home of Ode. You who seek the Golden Land, follow its path downstream in search of the key. As you travel down it, you will see a village. In that village, look for the shore that to speak of. There, the key to the Golden Land sleeps. You who laid hand upon the key must journey as follows to the Golden Land. On the first twilight, sacrifice the 6 chosen by the key. On the second twilight, those who remain shall tear apart the 2 who are close. On the third twilight, those who remain shall praise my noble name. On the fourth twilight, gouge the head and kill. On the fifth twilight, gouge the chest and kill. On the sixth twilight, gouge the stomach and kill. On the seventh twilight, gouge the knee and kill. On the 8th twilight, gouge the leg and kill. On the 9th twilight, the witch revives, and none shall be left alive. On the 10th twilight, the journey ends, and you shall reach the home of the goad. The witch shall praise the wise and bestow 4 treasures. 1 shall be all of the Golden Land's gold. 1 resurrects all the dead people's souls. 1 even revives all the love they possessed. And 1 for the witch to eternally rest. Rest in peace, my beloved witch Beatrice. Kenzo cries about Bido while Nanjo watches. Bao's going to the family conference of 6 years because his father remarried. We meet Rosa, Maria, Eva, Hideyoshi, Rudolph, and Kirei before getting on a plane to Nijima. There is going to be a storm. Before getting on a boat to go to the family conference, we meet Jessica and Kumasawa. On the boat ride, Maria makes it clear she's autistic and Kumasawa knows stories about the island Rokujima. That's where the family conference time is, by the way. Everyone arrives at the island and is greeted by Goda. Bowser says he can't hear the sea cats crying. The gang steps up to the nice rose garden the mansion has. There's a metaphor here about roses and blooming early. Maria liked it. Meet Ken, who says something mysterious. He's furniture. Also, Goda's a bit of a dick. Everyone who arrives checks in on the new guest house built 2 years ago. The kids stay and play while the siblings go to the mansion. We meet Natsui, who always has a headache because Eva is a bitch. Natsui then is a bitch to Shannon in turn. By the way, we meet Shannon. She's furniture. We also learn that Goda is a big asshole to Shannon. Ken isn't happy with the amount of assholes. Kumasawa laments her uselessness. We learn that Shannon was working with the family even 6 years ago. She was 10. And that Battle thinks life is anime. Also, Shannon isn't a real name, same as Sugar Cannon. We meet Genji, who's had to deal with Kinzo yelling about Beatrice for a long time. Bowser is reminded by an ominous portrait who Beatrice is as a legend of a second ruler of Rokujima. She is supposedly in charge of the wild, untamed parts. Around the dinner table, we learn that women are baby factories and men are more important, at least according to Kinzo. No one's eating yet because he's refusing to leave his room and screaming out Beatrice. Kraus, his oldest son, and Anjo give up on getting him out. Genji deals with Kinzo's bipolar style tantrum. Meanwhile, the rest of the family starts to eat dinner and talk. An exposition dump occurs about the Ushiromiya family history and Kinzo's past. Summary: rich family, earthquake to poor, Kinzo becomes head, make money in Korean War, buys Rokujima with US help, family now rich. Also, Kinzo's weird about Western magic. During dinner, Eva's a bitch, but Kumasawa saves Shannon's day. All the kids and Shannon leave to play on the beach while the siblings stay. Money's talked about and how Kraus is definitely embezzling it. Natsui and Eva get into an argument, and Eva shows a portion of her bitch power, making Natsui to leave. Kumasawa laments how useless she is. The kids stop in front of the creepy portrait and talk about Beatrice, how Beatrice was actually Kinzo's mistress who gave him 10 tons of gold, and how by answering an epitaph that was revealed with a portrait 2 years ago, you get the gold and position a family head. The siblings use the legend to not so subtly blackmail Kraus into giving them money. Kraus laughs at them because they need money and he's fine. Ken's been listening to this conversation and realizes the conversation to Kinzo, who laughs at how dumb all of them are. Also, he screams out Beatrice and asks Ken if he wants candy. Furniture can't have candy, so he declines. We learn the epitaph and that it's weird. The kids and Shannon talk about the epitaph, but can't figure it out. Maria says Beatrice is real. Battler laughs at that. The kids head back and are stopped at the rose garden looking for Maria's metaphor rose. They can't find it, and Maria gets upset. Rosa comes and shows she's horrible by slapping Maria repeatedly for being autistic. Oh shit! She doesn't know what ooh means. Jessica and Ballard are confused, and George lets it happen. The kids leave back to the guest house because they don't know what to do about child abuse. The storm arrives. Kinjo screams about Beatrice. After a while, everyone realizes that Maria was left out in the rain to cry because Rosa is horrible. They find Maria with an umbrella and let her, no longer crying. Maria says Beatrice gave them to her. Nanjo and Kraus try to get Kinjo to come out to dinner. He refuses and screams out Beatrice. Everyone starts eating dinner. Rosa asks who helped Maria and everyone denies helping. Maria insists it was Beatrice. The letter Maria got is opened. In it, Beatrice says they have to solve the epitaph or she's taking everything the family has as collateral for the gold. The siblings try to get into Kinzo's room. Kinzo laughs and talks about gambling. Everyone does their own thing. Ballard and Kirei talk about how plausible a 19th person being on the island is. Rudolph awkwardly admits he's probably going to die that night, and the siblings go into the dining room to talk. Kraus shows Natsuki a goat ingot to prove the goat is real. Natsuki's upset she isn't trusted and goes to her room to sleep. She talks to Jessica and is a little happy. The kids get ready for bed, and the servants get ready to servant. Before that though, George and Shannon go to the garden together. George and Shannon love each other as it turns out, and George proposes to his favorite IKEA furniture. She takes the ring but doesn't give an answer. We learn Shannon's real name is Sayo. Shannon sees golden butterflies. Natsuki wakes up and there's a creepy symbol on her door. No one can find Rudolph, Kirei, Kraus, Shannon, Goda, or Rosa. Kanon and Genji look for them. Genji gives Natsuki a key to Kinjo's room. She goes inside and gets a pep talk at how she's worthy to be an Ushiromiya. Eva's there outside to be a bitch when Natsuki comes out. By the way, Ken finds the missing people in the shed dead. Their bodies ruined. There was the same creepy symbol from Natsuki's door on the garden shed door. George learns from Hideyoshi that Shannon wore the ring. Everyone cries. Natsuki has the shed locked. Everyone learns there's only one key to the garden shed. The lines to the outside world are cut. Due to the storm, the boat they came on won't arrive until tomorrow. Eva talks to Ballard and suggests one or multiple of the servants on the island killed the victims. Ballard chooses to believe the 19th person did the killings. Maria tells everyone what the symbol means and that she's currently a devil child. She's saying a witch did it and Ballard thinks that's crazy. Natsuki comes back to the room with a gun. Apparently Kinjo liked collecting western ones. Ballard goes to the kitchen and is told by the remaining servants of Maria that Beatrice quote-unquote exists, and that he just can't see her. Family talk and try to figure out why this is happening. They conclude it's probably about money. Eva reveals that she was extra bitchy and put a card into Kinjo's room door that was never moved even though Kinjo wasn't inside. She claims that Natsuki therefore lied about meeting Kinjo before. Everyone argues and Natsuki is tempted to shoot Eva, but instead Ballard settles things down and Eva and Hideyoshi leave the parlor. Eva and Hideyoshi have a lovey-dovey conversation in their room. Ken and Genji go to the room to deliver dinner. The servants find an envelope like the one Maria had. They get everyone together and break into the room. When they come back, there's a different creepy symbol on the door. Opening the door, they find Eva and Hideyoshi dead. They lock the door to the room. Everyone notices a bad smell emanating through the halls. Ken and Kumasawa go to find the source of the smell. Ballard tries to figure out another locked room and isn't great at it. Ken and Kumasawa realize the smell is coming from the boiler room in the basement. They head down and realize someone else is down there. Ken sees golden butterflies. Ken goes ahead and confronts someone. Afterwards, Kumasawa comes in and finds Ken with a stake in their chest. Everyone else rushes in, and Nanjo and George take Ken to the server room to help them. Ballard finds Kinzo's burned body in the furnace. Nanjo declares Kennen dead, and everyone agrees it's best to hide in Kinzo's locked room until morning. Natsuki confronts the servants about Beatrice's identity. They admit she was Kinzo's mistress, and that she died before the mansion was built. Ballard looks at the Beatrice portraits in the room, and realizes the murders are in accordance with the epitaph. Then, another letter is found. Natsuki doesn't trust a lot of people now, and forces Nanjo, Genji, Kumasawa, and Maria out of the room. Everyone remaining in the room feels bad for kicking the others out. They get a devil child call on the phone from Maria, and leave the room. They go to the parlor, which is locked, and when they open it up, they find it very bloody. Inside is Maria and the bodies of the other three. Maria says Beatrice did the killings. Natsuki finds a letter and goes to the main hall. There she confronts someone and ends up getting shot in the head. The remaining people then cry and see Beatrice, and the credits roll for the episode. Apparently, after all that, people found no one alive, and a diary from Maria documenting what happened, and begging for the truth to be found. Kanon, Shannon, Maria, George, Jessica, and Ballard are all having tea and discussing what happened in the episode. Everyone except Ballard accepts that a witch did the killings. Ballard doesn't believe in witches. Then, Beatrice appears, and explains how she killed Eva and Hideyoshi with magic. Ballard still doesn't believe it. Because of this, everyone else starts to die, and Ballard decides because Beatrice enjoys his family's deaths, he'll fight her and prove she isn't real. We see another witch named Berncastel talk to Beatrice, who's excited to fight Ballard. Beatrice goes off to prepare the next game, and Bernie breaks the fourth wall. She also says she'll help out in the next game. Episode 2. Turn of the Golden Witch. Good morning. The Golden Witch has been waiting patiently for you. Please take your seat opposite her at the table. Have you rested well and deliberated over how you will play? The witch has high expectations of you, as you turn to come at you right from the opening. I, too, am looking forward to observing your moves. The difficulty level is first rate. The witch plans to make you surrender in an instant. The episode starts with George and Shannon on a date at an aquarium. This metaphor about fish thinking the world is their cage. They act singingly sweet together, and Shannon says that their relationship is only possible because of magic. Flashback of Shannon destroying a mirror at a shrine on Rokujima. Shannon screams about Beatrice. Flashback again, it's a different family conference. Shannon laments being furniture. Nachi tries to vent, but George saves Shannon's day. Jessica tells Shannon she knows about the IKEA relationship. Shannon, Jessica, and George are friends. Just friends right now. Eva's a bitch to Shannon. Shannon reminds herself she's furniture, and furniture doesn't have friends. Ken hates everyone who's mean to Shannon. Shannon doesn't like being furniture and having feelings. Beatrice appears and says she finds it funny. Beatrice promises to make Shannon human. Shannon declines the offer. Beatrice bullies Shannon, and Cannon comes in to defend. Shannon and Cannon get matching scars from Beatrice. Shannon talks to Jessica about the date. Jessica's jealous. Beatrice and Shannon get along. Cannon hates this. Cannon says they're furniture. Shannon says she isn't. This goes on for a time. The sea is blue or the sea is gray. The color depends on if you have the love to see it. Cannon talks to Kenzo, who screams out Beatrice. Beatrice finds it sad. Kenzo won't see her without love. Now is the time for the school special. Jessica's nervous because she has no real boyfriend. She's extra nervous because her fake boyfriend Cannon is here. Everyone thinks edgy boys are hot. Jessica has brass knuckles that she uses. Jessica is a Toho fan. What the fuck? Ken is interested, but still does not see blue. Ken tells Jessica he's furniture. Jessica doesn't like that, and tells Ken he could be someone who isn't furniture. Ken refuses and decides being a chair is best. Jessica cries. Beatrice laughs at Ken for deciding to be a chair. She loves seeing furniture get hurt. Summary: Kenzo, George, and Jessica have love problems. Maria and Rosa are on a train. Rosa's absolutely horrible in public. Kraus has daddy issues, and Natsu is a good wife. The servants prepare for the conference and a special guest. Kumasawa tells a story about Rokujima to Jessica. Rudolph needs the money to fight Disney. Kenzo moans about Beatrice. Beatrice and Battler talk about the chessboard and get ready to start the game. Maria talks about Halloween, and Rosa is embarrassed. Therefore, Rosa hits Maria and destroys Maria's candy. Cannon tries to make Maria happy, but somewhat fails. Maria is fine with that because Beatrice is coming. Rosa admits she's not a great parent. Rosa remembers she's actually a horrible parent. The storm arrives, and so does Beatrice. Rosa sees a gold butterfly. Beatrice fixes the candy and gives Maria a letter. Beatrice then goes inside and is greeted by Genji. Kirei sees Beatrice. Beatrice can't get inside Kenjo's room. Cannon goes to give a meal to Beatrice. Beatrice is a massive bitch to Cannon and demands Cannon gives in to her. Cannon refuses, so Beatrice says Shannon will die. Cannon then submits to Beatrice. Battler goes to sleep, and Battler yells at Beatrice for making a 19th person who's a witch. Beatrice laughs. The siblings are confused about Beatrice. Kirei says the island is officially just a big room that has been closed since the storm arrived. Maria tells Rosa she's been meeting Beatrice for a long time. Rosa gets a headache. She gives Maria one too. Shannon remembers Battler from 6 years ago fondly. Goda gets angry about food. Kumasawa laments her uselessness. Cannon hates Goda, and Shannon is confused about Beatrice. Cannon blames Shannon for what Beatrice is going to do. Cannon doesn't want to be furniture anymore. Kenzo screams about Beatrice. Shannon talks to Beatrice and stonewalls her bitch power. Everyone has dinner. It's revealed that Beatrice is the guest of honor. Everyone wants to talk to her. The kids don't believe in Beatrice. Valor thinks Beatrice is real, just not a witch. Maria says he's coping because he didn't see magic. Shannon doesn't understand love. George helps her understand. Cannon is very jealous. Beatrice demands a good fight from Battler. In a place, Natsuki, Kraus, Hideyoshi, Rosa, Eva, Rudolph, and Kirei talk to Beatrice. They all accept she's a witch. Kinzo is surprisingly alive and screams out Beatrice. Shannon tries to find the siblings, but instead finds a letter saying chapel. Genji gets Rosa and takes her to the chapel. On the door is a creepy symbol. It's a happy Halloween for Maria. Rosa gets the letter and opens it to get a key to the chapel. Inside there's candy, gold, and dead people. Rosa tells everyone to get out. Valor and the kids are confused about where everyone is. They find their parents dead and everyone cries. Valor says Beatrice is horrible, and Beatrice laughs. She points out their faces are fine. Jessica blames Beatrice for the killings and runs away. Goda and Cannon give chase. Rosa slaps Maria for laughing about witches. The people in the chapel open the letter that says the same thing as in episode 1. Jessica can't find Beatrice. Beatrice mocks her with a letter. She cries and screams at Cannon and cries. Cannon leaves to let her cry. Beatrice mocks Cannon. Beatrice says she'll now kill Cannon and Jessica. Cannon sees a golden butterfly. Beatrice summons Buff Goat with laser sword. Cannon uses laser sword. Cannon wins, but actually loses. Beatrice summons 2 anime girls and kills the 2. Beatrice gets rid of Cannon's corpse and laughs. Kenzo screams about Beatrice. Genji and Shannon write his will. Valor tries to figure out what happened. Everyone says Kenzo cares a lot about the chapel. Valor can't read the English Kenzo put on the door. Rosa realizes there's only one key to the chapel. Valor can't figure it out and hates that it's a locked room. Beatrice loves it. Valor says there's a hidden way inside. Beatrice says there isn't.
Perpetual.
Beatrice adds the rule of red truth. Anything spoken in red will always be true. Beatrice uses the red to beat Valor for a bit. Valor panics at first, but then stops and wins the first fight. Everyone learns they can't contact the police. Rosa declares herself to be in charge. Beatrice figures out what to do next. Maria doesn't care about the deaths. She says ooh ooh, and Rosa slaps her. Rosa has a gun now. Everyone agrees to stick together when they investigate the missing Jessica and Cannon. They find a creepy symbol on the door and Jessica's body. Rosa confiscates all 5 master keys. Rosa thinks Cannon did the killing. Everyone hates this except for Beatrice. Valor proves otherwise, but accidentally proves that someone he knows would have to have done it. He doesn't like that. Everyone hides in the parlor scared. Valor learns about sheep and wolves. Rosa thinks the servants are wolves and tells the rest that. Valor asks how she's a wolf and points the gun at him. The remaining servants and Nanjo in the kitchen. They hear a knock at the back and find Cannon. They take him to the servant room. Cannon is evil and kills Nanjo and Kumasawa. Golden butterflies take their bodies. The servants go to the parlor, but can't explain what happened. Everyone goes to the servant room. They find a letter. Valor can't figure out what happened. Valor's incompetent. Valor has a mental breakdown while Beatrice laughs. Rosa doesn't really trust the servants or anyone alive. Rosa forces the servants to give her all the keys, and Valor cries like a seagull. All the servants and George leave. Those who left are in the kitchen talking. The servants respect George and follow him out of the room. Genji sees a gold butterfly. In the parlor, Valor looks at the epitaph with Maria. Valor doesn't get Beatrice and doesn't like Rosa now. Valor doubts Beatrice keeps her promises of not killing the epitaph is solved, but she keeps her promises. George and his posse arrive at the chapel. Golden butterflies arrive after Shannon takes a key. They run to Nachi's room for magic help. Beatrice bullies with goats. Goda dies via anime girl. Beatrice laughs at George and Shannon. Shannon makes a magic barrier. Beatrice tries to make fun of her love, but she counters with being awesome. Angry, Beatrice kills Shannon and George. Genji claims that he found Kumasawa and Nanjo's bodies in the courtyard. The parlor trio leave to check. Worried about the dead people, they go to Nachi's room and find the dead people. Valor is traumatized. He cries and hugs Maria because he wants this to end. The trio return to the parlor, and Valor finds another letter. Rosa hates this and threatens him. They get into an argument, and Maria cries. Valor leaves the parlor. Kenzo isn't dead and screams out Beatrice. Beatrice responds. Valor is very sad and wants to die. Genji invites him to go upstairs to see Kenzo and Beatrice. The two enter the study and see golden butterflies. Inside, Beatrice is a bitch, and Kenzo is screaming. Valor says he'll solve her mysteries and never surrender. Then credits roll. Valor gave up. Rosa takes Maria and the goat and makes them run for it. Kenzo laughs, and Valor's now furniture. Bernie's disappointed. Goats get to eat. Rosa is cool for the last time and kills multiple goat men. However, in the end, she and Maria die too. She points her gun at the goats before the episode ends. Rosa wakes up and is tortured by Beatrice for a while. Beatrice loves this. She speaks of Rosa's dark inner thoughts about her family. Valor doesn't like this and decides to be awesome. Valor declares he really won't give up this time and will beat Beatrice. Bernie calls the last game boring. Beatrice says she knows her helping Valor. Bernie's acquaintance Lambda Delta appears. Lambda and Beatrice decide to team up against Bernie for the next game. Bernie tells you to stop being a wuss then leaves. Lambda tells you not to hurt Bernie's feelings and leaves. Episode 3. Banquet of the Golden Witch. Good morning. This is a surprise, that even now you do not surrender. The Golden Witch has exceedingly high expectations of you. Have you perhaps also come to realize the structure of this world? There can be no victory without knowing the rules. Please enjoy a hearty game with the witch. The difficulty level is fair. Fair for you, and fair for the witch. A young girl breaks a vase, and Beatrice Silver helps fix it. The girl learns fixing stuff is very hard while breaking things is easy. The girl asks to become a witch. Turns out the girl was Beatrice. She's bored while anime secrets kill Valor over and over. Balor flirts and dies again. Beatrice declares the start of the next game board. On the boat, Hideyoshi smokes outside. He talks to Ruda about Eva's life sucking before. He says that Kinzo is the worst to pass Eva and pass Kraus. Eva remembers this and questions if Kinzo was right about her being horrible. Her past self says she's fine and deserves everything good. Past Eva says getting angry is a witch's power. She convinces current Eva to embrace her bitch and solve the riddle of the gold. Eva wakes up and feels bad about using George as a tool. She might be obsessed. The kids are on the beach talking about Balor from 6 years ago. Balor doesn't really remember things from then. Shannon remembers it well. Her memory is very good. Balor promised to come back to Shannon. He's embarrassed. Balor's surprised Shannon is dating George. He remembers he used to have a crush on her. Cousins agree they're friends. Balor likes this and wants things to be normal. Beatrice laughs. The story sprints through the events before the storm arrives. We skip to Marie in the rain crying about a rose. Beatrice comes and is nice to her. They see a gold butterfly. Beatrice uses magic to get Maria's rose back. Kinzo screams about Beatrice. A gold butterfly turns into a demon butler. Ronove is here to serve Beatrice for the games. Balor doesn't like this magic nonsense. Ronove is nice-ish to Balor. He makes Balor uncomfortable and Beatrice likes that. Beatrice says the more games happen, the more magic will be involved. Maria has read the letter. Eva pushes to solve the epitaph. Rosa questions this and is insulted. The kids are uncomfortable with their parents talking about money. Kiri talks to Maria about Beatrice. The kids are forced out of the room. The kids think Kinzo sent the letter to rile up their siblings. The adults are confused about the letter. They think the 19th person might exist. They talk about Kinzo's mistress possibly being on the island. They talk about how often Kinzo would disappear. None of them could ever find Beatrice. They think there's a hidden mansion on the island. Nothing is impossible if Kinzo's involved. They confirm again that solving the epitaph makes you the head of the family. They're very confused about why Beatrice would send the challenge if she already has found the gold. Kiri guesses it's arrogance. Eva promises to solve the riddle. Balor listened in and is now certain of a 19th person being on the island. Ronove asks how he's certain. Balor says devil's proof. He can't prove it, but it hasn't been disproven. Therefore, it's an argument. Then, Ronove mentions Hempo's raven. Beatrice makes fun of Balor with a misleading argumentative theory. Balor realizes the red truth could help him. Beatrice doesn't use red to confirm how many people are on the island. The siblings notice Rosa is acting odd. Rosa says she's met Beatrice and killed her. Kinzo talks to Beatrice. She doesn't know who she's supposed to be. Kinzo poorly deflects the topic. Balor is very confused. Beatrice explains she grew up here. Beatrice says she was constructed by Kinzo. This place is Kuadorian, the hidden mansion. Beatrice wasn't happy being trapped and got rid of her body. Balor doesn't get the magic explanation Beatrice is giving. Beatrice is annoyed and stops telling her story. Ronve explains Balor is dumb and takes over the explanation. Balor thinks of Beatrice's story without involving magic and starts to get it. Ronve confirms that a hidden mansion called Kuadorian exists on Rokujima. He also says this conversation basically happened once. The story of this Beatrice is in 1967. Ronve leaves and Balor flirts with his talking snake. Rosa says she was in middle school when it happened. She ran through the woods and found Kuadorian. She met Beatrice, who was cute and innocent. Beatrice wants to leave. Rosa accepts and takes her out. They climb a cliff and she falls, dying. Balor doesn't believe she's dead, but Beatrice confirms she's dead. Rosa is traumatized. Beatrice confirms there are no more than 18 people on the island. Balor hates this. Kinzo screams about being a winner. Someone knocks. Genji, Shannon, and Kanon go to the study. They find Beatrice talking to Kinzo. Kinzo is lit on fire. Beatrice offers to kill the furniture in the room as a favor. Kanon refuses. Beatrice says she'll spare them if Kanon beats her anime stakes. Kanon fights the figurative devil. Balor puts his hands over his ears while Beatrice laughs. Kanon wins. Beatrice says good job on beating one of her anime stakes. Kanon and Shannon try to survive, but Ronve says to give up. Genji comes in and mercy kills the two. Beatrice is upset that the anime magic is over. Goda feels creeped out and dies in the kitchen. Kumasawa sees gold butterflies and becomes her true form, hot silver-haired Beatrice. An extremely anime battle commences. Balor can't stand this, and Silver Beatrice agrees it's a bit silly. Turns out Silver Beatrice lost from the start, and Beatrice was just having fun. Beatrice tells Balor that he can't explain the anime stuff. He agrees and says this isn't fair. The siblings can't believe it's already morning. The mansion stinks. They try to go down to the boiler room and find a creepy symbol on the door. The door is locked. They split up to try and find the servants. They can't find them, and instead find more rooms with the same creepy symbol on them. They break into the parlor with a rock. Inside they find Shannon's body. Nanjo takes a look. Beatrice mocks Balor. Balor is having a mental breakdown and refuses to play. Silver-haired Beatrice comes to convince him to continue. They talk about Bronze Tubes and how until they're open, they can run on logic or gnomes. She concluded with him that until something is observed, it cannot be confirmed to be real. He thanks her. She says to call her Virgilia. Ballard promises to fight Beatrice with all he's got. The kids find out about the dead. Everyone cries. All the siblings have guns now. We learn that the 6 bodies were in 6 different rooms with different keys. There's also a letter with Kinzo's body. The logic match begins. Beatrice defines a closed room. The keys are defined. The dead are confirmed. Ballard decides to finally be smart and manages to corner Beatrice. With Virgilia's help, he wins the first match. Everyone is getting bored from being scared. The siblings take the time to talk about the epitaph. A bunch of suggestions to how to solve it are passed around, and it feels like they're close to the answer. Beatrice finds Ballard getting help boring. Virgilia asks if Beatrice is being a tsundere. Young Eva pushes Eva further down an epitaph-shaped hole. She wakes up quickly, having made a connection with Rivers and Sweetfish, and goes to check her answer. She finds the key to the Golden Land. Eva goes down a flight of stairs. She finds a room with a goad. She goes a bit mad. Young Eva is happy about this. She goes to leave and encounters Rosa. They leave and talk about what to do now. Rosa wants to tell the others about the gold while Eva wants to wait. Young Eva says not to tell them because then everyone would steal the gold from them. She's the head of the Ushiromiya family now and won't let anyone take that away. Beatrice agrees and congratulates her for solving the epitaph. Eva is crowned as the new Beatrice. Ballard's confused, but he goes along with it this time. Rosa and Eva return. Marie is screaming and Rosa looks for her knockout pills. Eva has a headache and Hideyoshi consoles her. Eva feels very ill. Maria is crying loudly. Rosa is being a horrible parent. Maria says she'll stop crying if she sees her Rose. Barra's like the reader and tells them not to go outside. Maria is happy to find Rose. Rosa thinks she sees golden butterflies. Eva is having a panic attack and begging Hideyoshi to stay. At the same time, Eva appears outside and talks to Rosa and Maria. Rosa promises not to get in the way of Eva's conspiracy. Evatrice reveals her full bitch power when Rosa talks about sharing the gold. This kills Rosa. Evatrice laughs and revives her. She does this and plays with Rosa and Maria for a while. Beatrice is impressed with Evatrice's cruelty. Ballard hates it. Beatrice doesn't get why he isn't having fun watching this. Ballard refuses to play since he hates Beatrice just that much. Beatrice is sad because of this, so she tries to talk Evatrice down from her bitch power trip. Evatrice is barely convinced, and Beatrice mercy kills Maria and Rosa. Evatrice thinks it's lame. No one knows where Maria and Rosa are. Eva wakes up without Hideyoshi by her side and panics. She thinks that what happened with Evatrice was a dream. Rosa and Maria's bodies are discovered. Beatrice tries to play with Ballard, but he refuses. Virgilia and Ballard call Beatrice an idiot. Ballard fights with Ronave for this one instead of Beatrice. Kiri admits she thought the deaths were fake until now. Everyone is confused why the killer didn't take Rosa's gun. While they talk about the murderer, Eva feels sick. Evatrice brags about killing the two. Eva says she doesn't want to be a witch like this. Evatrice tells her she'll have to deal with it. Eva faints, and Hideyoshi takes her back to their room. Beatrice talks to Evatrice about how magic works. Ronde comes to tell Beatrice he lost the second match. Kyrie talks to Rudolph in private about going outside. Everyone is hungry. Kyrie suggests that she, Rudolph, and Hideyoshi go to the mansion and get food. The place still stinks. Evatrice appears with golden butterflies. She's ready to fight, but Ronde explains to her that guns are dangerous. In the kitchen, Kyrie predicts the ambush by anime girls. Anime girls are split up between killing Rudolph and killing Kyrie. The two of them prove themselves to be awesome. Kyrie tells the anime girl about her life, how her kid was stillborn, how she's always loved Rudolph, how she loves her current life with her new kid Angie, and how she's held a grudge against Rudolph's first wife for 18 years. Kyrie and Rudolph confront Evatrice. Evatrice laughs and summons her gun-style bunny girls. Kyrie and Rudolph die. Beatrice tells Evatrice to stop being a bitch. Evatrice says she's not going to listen to an old hag. Virgilia tells Beatrice to be careful to make sure she doesn't die, because if she dies in the game, she dies in real life. She also tells her to take it easy and Ballard, at least emotionally. Beatrice runs away from Evatrice. Hideyoshi tells Evatrice to stop being evil. He is shot and Evatrice doesn't screw with his body. She's annoyed because he didn't need to die. Eva screams. Everyone panics as it's been 30 minutes since the others left. Eva pushes everyone to go check. They found the dead bodies. Ronave refuses to continue playing for Beatrice. Ballard says he'll accept if she apologizes. Everyone on the game board cries. Ballard lays a verbal smack on Beatrice for being a terrible witch. Virgilia confirms witches are meant to bring happiness. Ballard reiterates that she's a terrible witch. Both wanting time to think, they put the game on pause. The survivors return to the guest house. George feels sad about Shannon. He goes downstairs to get coffee, visits Dr. Nanjo to see if he wanted some too. Beatrice whispers to George that she can let him see Shannon. The two of them go to the parlor by flying. George sees golden butterflies. Evatrice decides to get the next killings done. Nazi and Kraus try to console Eva. Eva says she's not a witch. Evatrice says she is. Eva starts to think that she's a witch. Eva makes some coffee for them. The bunny girls kill Kraus and Natsui and their bodies vanish. George and Beatrice revive Shannon in the parlor. Virgilia compliments Beatrice for being a decent witch. The bunny girls kill George and re-kill Shannon. They then try to kill Beatrice too, but Virgilia takes the hit. Eva gathers everyone to try and figure out where George is. Valor's confused of how George left. Nanjo thinks maybe it was Beatrice. They all head to the mansion for the last time. On the way, they find Natsui and Kraus's corpses in the garden. Nanjo confirms they were strangled. Jessica's very angry. On the parlor door is a set of numbers that weren't there before. No one knows what it means. Valor guesses it's a date. George is found dead. Everyone is angry and sad. Jessica blames Eva for her parents' death. Nanjo blames everything on the witch. Eva nearly shoots Jessica by accident and goes blind. Nanjo takes her to the servant room. Valor goes after Eva. Jessica tells Nanjo she's sure Eva is responsible for everything. Nanjo says that the police will solve everything. Nanjo exits the room and meets Evatrice. Nanjo is surprised and then dies. Jessica begs for someone to save her. Beatrice admits to Ronove that she's not worthy to be Valor's opponent as is. She decides to revive Cannon enough to guide Jessica to safety. Jessica sees golden butterflies as she makes it back to the parlor. Beatrice leaves Cannon and Jessica alone in the parlor. Beatrice gets shot by bunny girls. Evatrice tries to humiliate Beatrice as she dies, but Beatrice decides to be cool and make fun of her instead. Cannon backs her up and calls Evatrice a ripoff of Beatrice. Valor doesn't like this ending. She pulls Evatrice up a level and challenges her in the meta parlor. Logic battle starts. Evatrice tries to prove Eva didn't kill Maria and Rosa. Valor says she's dumb and Hideyoshi lied. He wins the first fight. Valor uses Devil's Proof to try and prove the deaths of Hideyoshi, Rudolph, and Kirei were caused by Eva. He wins the second fight. Evatrice gets used to fighting like this. She claims she made the three leave her food with magic, even after they said they shouldn't leave her food. Valor has trouble, and Beatrice comes in to help. All she finds is a cigar butt to help him with. He realizes that Kirei found it in Eva's room, and that proves Hideyoshi was lying to cover Eva during Rosa and Maria's deaths. This gives Kirei and Rudolph a reason to leave. Valor wins the third fight. Evatrice loses her trump card. Who killed Nanjo? Using the red truth, she traps Valor. Everyone thinks she's done an amazing job. Beatrice says screw it and uses the red truth to deny witches to beat Evatrice. She has Valor promise to cover his ears to avoid the spoilers she'll say. Chessboard Valor proves Eva's the killer and then dies. It's curtain call, but Beatrice and Valor are still around. Beatrice is surprised to be Beatrice. Golden butterflies are everywhere as the Golden Land manifests. Everyone is there and happy. Virgilia explains that for the Golden Land to exist, all humans in it must accept it. Valor is the last one who needs to do it. He just needs to sign a paper. He's going to, but Virgilia and Beatrice start being weird. Then, a girl jumps through a window. She screams at Valor to not be tricked and stop giving up to the witch. Beatrice laughs and reveals to Valor that the entire episode was a tsundere trap to get him to accept her. She's actually a yandere though, so that would be bad. The girl demands Beatrice gives Valor back to her. Credits roll for the episode. Eva lived to hear the seagulls cry. Beatrice loved the episode and how well Lambda played Evatrice. Bernie leaves to work on something for the next game. Lambda wonders if Beatrice even wants to win with how much she's screwing around. Lambda hates this and threatens to take away Beatrice's status as a witch. Lambda is the yandere for Bernie and wants to keep the game going forever so she'll always have Bernie. 12 years later, Eva is dying in a hospital. She's being visited by Angie, Valor's sister and the girl from the end of the episode. Angie hates Eva and Eva hates Angie. Eva got rich and made loads of money, but everyone thinks she's responsible for the deaths on Rokujima. Angie demands to know what happened back then. Eva laughs and refuses to tell her as a last act of bitch power. She's more or less a second Kenzo now. Angie is a loner loser directly because of Eva. Her life sucks. Angie goes to the roof to off herself. Bernie appears and tells her to wait a second because Valor needs her help. Bernie explains that the Ushiromiya family head since Eva is dead, she's technically a new Beatrice. Angie asks if she'll be able to get her family back if she helps, and Bernie shrugs her shoulders. Thinking that to be good enough, Angie does a sick backflip to end the party. Episode 4, Alliance of the Golden Witch. Good morning. I could never imagine that you would not have surrendered by now. At this point, you and I must expect great things from you. The game is played not only on the board. Perhaps this time you should take a small peek beyond the borders? As they say, if you know your enemy, you need not fight 100 battles. The difficulty level depends upon you. How you have chosen a battle up until now will influence the difficulty. Getting off the plane, Angie has to watch Valor go away. Bernie says that's just how it be. Angie promises to solve the mystery. Beatrice is really excited for the next game. Ronve says Balor is busy having another mental breakdown. Beatrice tries to be a Genki girl and fails.
Yay! Yahoo! Hayu Battery!
Ronve makes it clear he's Balor's bro. Balor boldly leads Beatrice into not doing the Tsundere act again. Beatrice promises ironically fulfilling the Tsundere act in the first part of the episode. Angie comes in before the game and proves she's much more than Balor. As per agreement, she can't say her name and tells him to call her Gretel. Game 4 begins and Angie goes off on a flashback journey. Angie is miserable at school. She's the target for all of the bullying. Eva coped with her trauma by giving trauma to Angie. Angie copes with her trauma by hiding away during breaks and reading Maria's diary. When she reads the diary, she summons Magic Maria. Angie reads about a time when Rosa wasn't the worst and celebrated Maria's birthday. She gave Maria a stuffed lion she made, and Maria called it Sakataro. Angie remembers liking her birthdays when everyone wasn't dead. Maria was bullied in school for being autistic. She was fine with this because of the magic of the scapegoat. Sakataro is a nice supporting friend of Maria to help her through tough times. Even though Rosa says not to take Sakataro with her when shopping, Maria does so anyway every time Rosa is out of the house. That's a lot, by the way. Random people in stores care a lot about Maria, who does this very often. They remember her coming before. Angie understands Sakataro is just Maria's coping mechanism, but she's jealous of that magic. Maria says Angie could become a witch and use magic too. School bullies hear her talking to herself and do the bullying. Flash forward to after Eva's death. Angie apparently survived doing a backflip off the building. Curious side of the family, the Sumaderas, are Yakuza enemies that are after Angie to get that sweet Ushiromiya money. Angie and Eva's only friend discuss what happened in the past. Say hi to Okiwoki. He thinks the epitaph was a way to give the position of head to Eva and go around Kraus. He also thinks Eva didn't do the killings because she loved George and Hideyoshi too much. Eva was the only known survivor from the island. She was found at Kuwadorian. No one knows why she was there. Angie admits she's probably biased in thinking Eva did the killings. Okiwoki warns Angie that Kirie's sister is here to capture her. Angie acts like she's in a Yakuza game to avoid her and her guards. Meanwhile, Kasumi, Kirie's sister, does her best to not explode in anger. Angie's about to be captured, but is rescued by Amakusa, a man who's way too well off and mentally stable to be related to her. He's hired as her bodyguard. He's French. He realizes that Angie's paranoia about Okiwoki betraying her was really stupid. She reflects on this. Bernie chimes in to say she likes how anime Angie's life is. Angie asks to clarify if there's one truth to what happened on Rokujima. Bernie says until she opens the island there will be an infinite amount of truths. The facts of the future outweigh the facts of the past. The witch theory in modern times only popped up after a wine bottle with a message was discovered years later. Nanjo once again says Kinzo only has 3 months left to live. The siblings other than Kraus don't buy it. They basically claim they think Kinzo is dead, and Kraus is in line on him being alive for some time. The siblings try to force Kraus into a deal that will hurt him if Kinzo is actually dead. Balor pops in to say he was thinking about that as a solution to the puzzle from last game, that Kinzo was dead the entire time. Beatrice laughs at Balor finally having a brain. Angie points out that Beatrice will only use the red truth to counter Balor when it will hurt the most. Angie gets Beatrice to admit that she'll have to eventually argue against any of Balor's claims, or she loses. The game ends October 5th, 1986 on the game board. All arguments must be finished at that time. Whichever side is unable to counter a given argument within a minute at that time, loses. Balor gets to use the blue truth. These are statements taken as true until proven otherwise by the witch's side. So Balor can claim Kinzo is dead, and that's true until Beatrice counters it with either the red truth or logic. Balor now has a shotgun of blue. The siblings bully Kraus into agreeing to either meet Kinzo or take a bad deal. Kraus and Nachi go upstairs to try and convince Kinzo to come down. Kinzo laughs at them and becomes the anime villain Goldsmith. He declares he'll come down this time. The storm arrives. The children think Rosa and Maria have a good relationship. Gretel drops her team surprised at hearing such bullshit. She leaves for mobile chapters to collect her thoughts. Angie argues with her Maria about why it's clear that Maria isn't living a happy life. Maria argues it's a matter of perspective. Flashback to a time when Rosa was a bad parent and left Maria alone for a few days. Rosa told her she was busy with work. Sakataro reassures Maria that Rosa is trying her best and wants the best for her daughter. Maria cries while Sakataro tells her he'll always be there for her. They have a drama party while Rosa's away. Maria writes a letter to Rosa thanking her for everything, hoping she can be happy too. Maria wraps a scarf Rosa made for her around Sakataro. Angie's Maria claims this time proves that she had a happy life. Angie says she was really just coping and it wasn't such a great time. She says she read between the gaps, understands how miserable Maria must have been. Maria finds Angie kind of pathetic and sad. Maria doesn't like her happiness being overridden with Angie's truth. Because Angie doesn't have magic, she can't find the same happiness as Maria. Rosa comes back and Maria's happy. They both are happy until a train ticket for a hot spring resort falls out of Rosa's pocket. Then Rosa shows she's still horrible. Maria says it was a moment. Angie points out that Rosa is the worst in most moments. A single scrap paper that night ruined happiness, but it could also have saved it. Beatrice comes in to teach Angie how to use magic. Maria plays with Beatrice and shows off Sakatoro. Beatrice is amazed at Maria's magical power. Virgilia also compliments Maria's magical power. Beatrice creates an official OC design for Sakatoro. Sakatoro is now a catboy. Maria is declared the Witch of Origins. Maria mentions that she once taught Angie the kind of magic she uses for Sakatoro. Flash forward, a man is explaining the history of Rokujima after the disaster, and talking about a couple of books that survived. The Ushiro Omiya name is now well known in the occult space. The message bottle that was discovered is the basis for a lot of occult theories. They were signed by Maria, but none of it was written by her. Later it was revealed the police found another bottle with another diary in it. Because of how long both were, and because both said Eva died, it's thought that was a plan of what would happen. Also, they're so long that it isn't thought they were written as the events were happening. No one knows who wrote the messages. Their existence makes Angie think Eva was probably not the killer. Also, she casually reveals that Beatrice's signature is in Maria's diary, and that the signature matches with the handwriting from the bottle diaries. Kasumi is angry at having barely missed Angie. In a hotel, Angie talks to her Maria. She gets a lesson to refresh her on how to use magic. She takes one of the anime stakes and returns it to being an anime girl. She summons the greedy Mammon. The demon anime girl immediately tries to kill Angie. She's happy to see Angie again, even if she's still angry at her for reasons. At Mammon's insistence, Angie summons the rest of the demon anime stake girls. Angie is tired from this and falls asleep. Flashback! Magic was Angie's way to survive bullying at school. Angie summons all the demon stake anime child girls. They all love Sakatoro. Angie's worries about him, but Maria reminds her that Mirage Sorciera has an agreement that witches won't harm other witches. Angie can't think of this many anime girls at once, so she has to dismiss all but Mammon. She's woken up by Maria from her training and returns to the bad and no good school life. At least Mammon is here for her. The school sucks and everyone is mean to Angie. Mammon hates this. Angie mentioned she eventually wants to be able to summon her family back, especially Balor. Flashback to when Angie got her hair accessory as a gift from Balor, because Balor was a good big old brother. This will help her summon Balor later. Mammon is a good friend of Angie, and Angie is glad to have a friend. Gretel has to return to the meadow parlor to keep playing the game. Lambda stops her and engages in some mind break. Lambda says even if she helps Balor win, she won't be related with Balor, but instead a different Angie will be. Angie thinks she's fine with this until Lambda says she's just a piece on the board and will disappear once the game is over. Lambda tries to convince Angie to keep the game going forever so she can be with Balor forever. Angie, the piece, has a mental breakdown. Flashback, Angie's playing with the anime sisters of Devils and Stakes in a park along with Maria and Sakatoro. Angie tells Maria her greatest wish is to resurrect her family. Angie's excited for that day to come. Sadly, there are bullies here to tear her from her daydream. All the Stakes hate the school bullies for being bullies and hypocrites. Angie gets taken to a classroom and bullied write a letter calling herself stupid and a failure and apologize for existing. Make her stay from morning to night writing this because apparently this is great fun for them to be staying here along with her. Angie doesn't want to read this letter they forced her to write. Maria and the Stakes tell her to stay strong. She keeps being berated though and is eventually told to just die. Angie tells the Stakes to kill the bullies. They can't, and she freaks out realizing that for all of her coping with magic and her imaginary friends, her life hasn't gotten any better and she's still living in a miserable reality. She kills each Stake as they fail to do anything to save her. Sakatoro is sad to see Angie like this. Angie tells Maria to stop coping with Sakatoro because he was never real either. Flashback, when Angie and Maria met up before Maria became not alive, she said that Sakatoro wasn't really alive. This was the moment Angie was banished from the magic friend group. Angie starts reading the letter and breaks down. She goes off script and by the end is begging for someone to kill her. Because she doesn't want to be alive. Not in a world like this. She should have died with her family in 1986. It was a mistake for her to live. Angie believes that magic could never save her from this reality. The only people who could save her are real humans. Maria pities the sad Angie and says that she and Sakatoro will be there for her if she ever wants them back. Flashback to after Angie told Maria that Sakatoro was just a stuffed toy. Sakatoro tells Maria he's real. Maria wishes she could take Sakatoro with her everywhere. He suggests bringing her 4 marching band rabbits with her instead since they're small. Maria gets to be happy for a bit because of her friends. Maria one night goes to get food because Rosa isn't around. The shopkeeper is worried about seeing her alone again, but Maria says she's fine because she has Sakatoro. Except when she gets home, she realizes she's lost the key to the house. She can't find it even after looking for a long time and going back and forth from the shop to her house. The shopkeeper calls the police eventually. Maria was told to not talk to the police, so she's scared of Rosa being mad. The police called Rosa's workplace, but she's not there and is instead on vacation again. Maria learns she's a poor thing. And then, Rosa is back. Maria thinks Rosa is possessed by an evil witch. Rosa blames Maria for ruining her everything. She berates her for taking Sakura with her outside. The poor social worker there is helpless as Rosa reveals she's sitting next to Kinzo in terms of worst parents in existence. Rosa destroys one of the tiny rabbit soldiers because she's not a good person. She then takes Sakura and rips him to pieces because she's an irredeemable person. Sakura is dead. Maria undergoes a mental breakdown. Beatrice can't fix this shit, and the full-blown coping begins. Angie and Amakusa are on a boat going to Nijima. They're trying to get to Rokujima. Amakusa says life is only worth living if you find satisfaction in it. Mammon agrees. Angie thinks that maybe Maria's life was better because she was satisfied with it. Magic existed to her, and therefore it's possible for everyone to be happy. Angie concludes that this journey she's taking is one done to apologize to Maria for what she did. Trying a bit, Angie manages to bring back Sakura because it's into her world, instead of Maria's. To Angie, magic exists even if you can't see it. They get on a plane to get closer to Rokujima, with Kasumi close behind. Back to the game board. The storm is already here. The kids talk about how greedy the adults must be for money. Shan admits that the things she wants can't be bought with money. Rather surprised, Beatrice is actually going to bring Kinzo out for once. Back in the dining hall, the siblings and their associates have a discussion about Maria, the letter, and the umbrella, and if it even matters at this point. It's almost 10 p.m. of the first day. Everyone but the children are in the dining hall. Kinzo comes in and laughs. He tells all of his kids that they're losers undeserving the Ushiromiya family fortune. They couldn't even solve the epitaph. Nanjo speaks up saying that even if the siblings are losers, maybe one of the children could be a worthy successor. Everyone argues why their kid should be the one chosen. He agrees that one of them could be worthy. He laughs and then declares it's time for the sacrifice to be chosen. No one believes him until he summons 3 bunny girls that are also guns. The killing commences. In the following commotion, Natsui, Rudolph, Hideyoshi, Genji, Eva, and Rosa die. Everyone reacts differently, and in the end, Goda and Kumasawa manage to escape while the rest are captured by Kinzo. He summons Gap, a demon with bad fashion, who summons hose beneath the survivors to transport them to a dungeon. Ronway was also summoned along with Virgilia. Kinzo is having a great time. Beatrice is enjoying the show too. Valor still hates this part. Beatrice only partially destroys the heads of the dead this time to make it impossible to say they're actually a fake body. Rosa wakes up for another torture session after being mean to Sakataro. Maria decides the best way to cope with her terrible life isn't hoping for life to be good, but instead that everyone she dislikes to suffer. So she imagines just that. Beatrice supports this use of magic. She remembers all the broken promises. Rosa thinks back on all the times she was with other people trying to be happy, how they just keep bringing up Maria. She says she blames Maria for her life always being filled with despair. Maria cries and vents all of her pain and anger onto this version of Rosa. She'll never forgive this black witch who looks like Rosa. Beatrice says that acting like this is what makes Maria a proper witch. Back to something like reality, the children are all in the guest house waiting for the siblings to finish talking. The others make Maria angry, and she kee-hee-hees with a look that says she's thinking of them in a massive amount of pain at the moment. She says she forgives the others because she's a witch. Kumasawa and Goda rush into the room. The survivors from the dining room wake up in a dungeon. Everyone is confused about how they got here. For some reason, there's a working phone here, that only works for calling other phones on the island. Kiria notes that if her watch is right, it's only been a few minutes since the dining hall happened. She tries to comprehend the magic she saw, and fails. Kraus and the others get in contact with those in the guest house. They inform the children what happened before hanging up on the phone. The children make sure the guest house is safe. They admit that they're all screwed if the enemies have guns. Battle thinks he should just charge in anyway to rescue the hostages, but Goto convinces him otherwise. The first day isn't over. Maria is bored. The hostages try and find a way out of the dungeon. Shan and Ken have a conversation about how rare it is that they both lived the first set of killings. They are also surprised Kinzo left his study this time. Shen hopes the two of them can reach the Golden Land again. The two agree that deaths are never random, and Beatrice chooses sacrifices based on what would be most interesting. Shan tells Ken that the Golden Land is a perfect world, but there's no happiness there. Kinzo and his demon friends arrive. The hostages learn they're in the basement of Kuwadorian. Kinzo hates the women around him. Kinzo thinks that if you give up on pursuing someone you love, then you don't really love them. Kinzo is going to test the kids, and if one succeeds, he'll spare the remaining people. Flash forward. Angie's talking to Nanjo's son. He's been refusing to talk about Rokujima for years because people suck. Angie sucks less, so he'll tell her stuff. Nothing specific is known of Kinzo's recent health before that day. Several days after the storm, Nanjo's son receives a strange letter. It was sent out days before to an address that doesn't exist. It was for his dad. Inside is a card, key, and a small letter with the same numbers from the last episode. It's all for a super safety deposit box. Inside the vault were 20 separate safes with green lights. Inside the one opened was 100 million yen. The writing from the envelope is confirmed to be Beatrice's. The same kind of envelope was sent to one of Kumasawa's many sons. Angie remembers that she got an envelope too way back then. This makes Angie wonder if what Beatrice did was premeditated. Beatrice liked the uncertain. Angie learns the words above the chapel door since Kumasawa took pictures. The captain took the family to the island is talked to. He accepts to take Angie to the island. He says it will be his final job to repent to the family. Angie sees something in the captain's house and cries. The kids get informed about the test by Kenzo via the siblings. Kenzo tells the children to seal away Kumasawa and Goda in the garden shed. Virgilia provides some comic relief. Kiri still doesn't believe in this magic nonsense. The two free servants are locked away with the key in the garden shed. The children promise to come back for them. Jessica's worried, but Maria says it'll be fine because of the witch. Balor bonks her. Jessica and George get locations for them to go to. Jessica is sent to her own room for a test. Ronbei's there, and Jessica confuses him with Genji for a second. He gives her a letter. George is at the arbor in the garden. Gap's there and has handed him a letter. Letters are the same and have the same test. Either kill themselves, kill the one they love, or kill everyone else. Choosing nothing just means everyone dies. Neither George nor Jessica like this. Kenzo laughs. Kenzo asks the bunny guns to answer the question and he hates them all because they have no will. He concluded the right answer is any of them, they just have to give the answer without hesitation. Jessica chooses herself. Ronbei only somewhat approves. Jessica tells Ronbei to leave a message to Ken and start living his life fully and without regret. The bunny girls come crying to Virgilia because Kenzo is mean. She leaves to calm them down and lets some goats guard the hostages. Kraus shows he's actually a caring father. George decides everyone else should die. Gap is impressed by how crazy George can be for love. She challenges George to kill everyone else himself. George agrees to do so and we start by killing Gap.
The first movement. Blitz.
Jessica reminds everyone she has brass fucking knuckles and punches Ronbei. She's amazing. George is really bad at fighting and gets wrecked for a bit. Jessica is better and hurts herself while hurting Ronbei. Through the power of love, George gets a second win and starts showing off to Gap by just barely avoiding killing her. Jessica uses her love color spark to punch really hard. Ronbei is shocked that this is working against him. Kraus is raging to get out and save his daughter. Deciding this is the best time to escape, Ken uses his laser arm to open up the dungeon. Shannon and Ken declare that they'll help the others escape as humans. Virgilia and the rabbits panic. They try to shoot the escapees but fail and have to reload their OS. Virgilia pretends she's in control and sends out the goats. They are exceptionally dumb and can't do anything useful for now. George and Jessica start winning. The escapees are close to escaping. Virgilia is ready to kill them with bunny girls, but they've encountered a fatal error and need to restart. She can't believe how dumb they are. The goats are even dumber. She gets close to crying. She stops the group in the tunnels with a single strong goat she's got. Kraus decides he'll be the one to fight it. Virgilia brags about how strong her goat is, how it's been trained for 10,000 years, it's a bajillion times stronger than Kraus, and how Kraus is 18 today, will prevent from getting another attack in, and how he'll totally lose. She realizes she tripped the goat's death flags with all that bragging. Kraus wins. Virgilia is embarrassed. George and Jessica go for the winning blow! But, of course, they could never win. Beatrice cheers on Gap for the entertaining fight. Jessica and George end up accidentally killing each other. Ronbei revives Jessica just long enough for her to give some final words to Balor on the phone. She tells him George is dead, she'll be dead, and that the enemy is very much of magic. Balor is confused. The people who escaped finally get out are really close to the mansion. The bunny girls stop being incompetent. Rapidly, they all die except for Kiri, who takes a bit longer. She manages to call Balor and tells him everything that happened to them. She says she'll be killed by something through the keyhole in a bit, and that magic is definitely real. Balor screams. Maria is fine with this, while Balor very much isn't. Maria gets a call and heads for her test, while Balor gets a call from Beatrice. Kenzo is enjoying his time with Beatrice. Beatrice tells Balor what Kenzo is saying about the test, and how she'll be the proctor. Balor goes to get Kumasawa and Goda from the shed, but sees them hanging from the rafters on the inside. He also gets to inspect his first dead body of the episode thanks to George. At the mansion entrance, standing on the second floor balcony, Balor meets Beatrice face to face. She's here without bunny girls, steaks, demon friends, or even her golden butterflies. She's really here in front of Balor after all this time. Balor opens his letter, but it's incomplete unlike Jessica and George's. This test won't work with Balor, so Beatrice decides he must answer a single question instead. Remember your sin of 6 years ago. Remember it, confess, and repent. That shall be my test for you. Balor's confused and assumes she's talking about him running away from the Ushinomiya family back then. He admits how he reacted to his dad and Kiri getting married, his mom's death, and all that happened between his immediate family and him was stupid. But he refuses to apologize for any of that because that has nothing to do with the greater Ushinomiya family. Beatrice is disappointed. That was not the sin she was talking about. His sin is not remembering it. If he does, that will have atoned for it. Balor's getting confused by this, and gets even more confused when Beatrice confirms Balor never knew a person called Beatrice back then. She reveals he is one of the causes for the tragedy. Balor demands her to explain herself, even as Game Boy Balor talks in confidence, having no idea what Beatrice is talking about. Beatrice tells Beatrice there's no longer any reason now to keep it up. She tells Beatrice to rest for a bit. Beatrice goes back inside and makes Kinzo into a fireman. Everyone can tell Beatrice is very angry at the moment. Balor wants answers to why Beatrice is so especially upset. Beatrice won't answer and declares she's done. The game board and the meta parlor be paused for now, and forevermore. Lambda and Bernie aren't happy with this possibility. Angie hates his quitting nonsense too. Beatrice agrees to keep playing if Balor can prove that he's a qualified opponent for her. Everyone is okay with this condition. Balor gets to use the red truth. The others quickly realize what's about to happen. Beatrice requests Balor repeat that his mother is Ushoromiya Asumu. He can't and has a massive mental breakdown. Beatrice asserts that she wanted to play with Kinzo's grandchild, and that this Balor is not that person. He is not Ushoromiya Asumu's son. Game over. Beatrice talks to Maria about how magic should have only ever been a thing used by them. So she'll be with Maria forever now, safe from everything in the Golden Land. Flash forward, now! Angie, Amakusa, and the captain are on a boat heading to Rokujima. The captain talks about how he used to make trips to the second harbor in Rokujima that probably was for Kuwadorian. It's basically confirmed that all the old folks on Rokujima knew about Kuwadorian. One day, in 1968, he was told to stop making those trips. Angie's figures Beatrice must have died at that time. She thinks it might have existed a secret tunnel from the main mansion to Kuwadorian. They arrive, and Angie goes off to do a thing by herself. Where once the mansion was is now a deep cliff. This is the end of Angie's journey. She makes an apology to Maria for destroying the magic she had back then. Kasumi shows up, demanding she gets an apology now. Kasumi starts to have a mental breakdown and complains about Angie and how much she's like Kirei. She has her men beat the hell out of Angie. Kasumi complains how her life was easy before Kirei left, then became hard and she hates everything about it. She blames Kirei for everything that happened, and that includes her sister dying. Angie realizes she might be screwed. She also realizes that generational trauma really sucks. Yeah, it sucks a lot! The witch of trauma that haunts and possesses people is to blame for so much of her and her family's suffering. Evatress works with Kasumi to make fun of Angie. They take Maria's diaries from Angie and read it. She also starts to rip the pages out, killing the magic and everything wonderful Maria ever made. She finds the omen magic stone inside the book to always bring happiness to those around the caster. She says, ooh ooh. Angie declares, magic exists! In a moment of super anime, the seven snakes of purgatory rise to save Angie's life from Kasumi's thugs. Working together, they manage to save their master. The thugs and Kasumi stand no chance. Angie pities Kasumi for being such a miserable cunt. Evatress comes back as Eva at the last moment to try and really kill Angie, but her gun explodes in commandment and Angie's safe. Then, Angie's back on the skyscraper. Bernie congratulates Angie on finishing her journey, but Angie doesn't really care. She needs to save her brother. Beatrice is enjoying herself in the Golden Land with Maria. Angie steps in to ruin her joy. Beatrice and Maria claim she can't ruin the joy because they can get anything they want here. Angie counters with Sakutaro being absent. Beatrice says his heart would bring the Catboy up when he's dead. Angie claims she can get him back and makes Maria promise to leave if she brings Sakutaro back. It's not been revealed yet, but, well, Angie can bring Sakutaro back because Rosa is one of the worst parents of all time. The Golden Land fades away, and Angie demands Beatrice sits down and gets ready. Lambert traps Beatrice to the parlor, and Bernie retrieves Balor's body. However, his soul isn't home right now. Beatrice reminds Angie of the argument that Balor isn't Kinzo's grandchild. She calls Bo on that. Balor still isn't sure who he is, but Angie reassures him that he's Angie's big brother. She begs him to remember that there's a little sister waiting back home for him. She nearly gets through to Balor, but he can't believe anything if it's not said in red. So, Angie says it. She's Angie Ushoromiya, Balor's little sister, and she wants him to come home. Angie dies without Balor even being allowed to see her, as she broke the one rule she was never supposed to. Beatrice makes some now she died. Balor declares, for hopefully the last time, that he'll beat Beatrice once and for all, because he has to get back home to his sister who's waiting for him. Beatrice understands that there's no way for her to win this battle. She wants Balor to finally kill her, so she plays the part of the endlessly cruel witch Beatrice once again. She laughs at both herself and Battler. Game Boy Balor has been left alone to explore the island for this last day. He finds all the dead bodies, including Maria, but not Cannon because his fell down the well. He's very confused how Jessica knew what state her body would be in, and how she knew that George was dead. He's also very confused how Kira is killed through a keyhole when there's no key over the door that goes into the room. He also can confirm now, after inspecting Goda and Kumasawa's bodies, that they died by a gun rather than hanging. Since Balor can't find his body, he starts to suspect Cannon was the killer. Beatrice is surprised he's actually thinking that. As the clock hits midnight, the game board portion is finished and Valerie can no longer investigate. He hates hearing Beatrice talk about Angie. Beatrice eggs him on. Valerie declares that he will kill Beatrice. The final battle begins. Transport to the Rose Garden. Valerie starts a fight by declaring that Kinzo is already dead and that there could be a mysterious 18th person on the island. If true, then all the mysteries of episode 1 are solved. Beatrice brings up the locked room episode 2 with George and the others. Valerie says that it's perfectly fine if Rosa was working with the culprit. Episode 2 is currently solved. Valerie states that all the killings done in episode 3 were done by Eva, except for Nigel, who was killed by the 18th unknown. Beatrice counters the fact that George was never seen leaving the guest house, and all the ways out were still locked. Valerie proposed that someone could have simply locked the windows after George left. Episode 3 is done. Valerie goes to the killing blow by proposing some slight nonsense about darts and the 18th person using a gun to do the killing. Beatrice points out that everyone in the dining hall acknowledged the presence of Kinzo. Nah, that was just a body double. No one would ever mistake someone else for Kinzo. You've changed elements of the game before. What to say you're not changing things again with Kinzo being alive this time? Kinzo's status is the same in all the games. Beatrice! Of course he's a dragon now! Beatrice! Kinzo's been dead from the start. Someone else has been going by your name this entire time. Come on, can you even say it? Repetition requested. Not one person present had multiple differing names. Beatrice. Goodbye, Kinzo. You were horrible, but... This is the end, Beatrice. I'm going back to my sister. Come on, then. Give me your finishing blow. All the deaths of the 4th game were because of the 18th person X. This is the end for Beatrice. The only fight she can put up now is on the smallest things. The things that don't matter. Valerie declares stalemate. If Beatrice is going to try to prove magic exists just by saying it does, then the game will never get anywhere. Yes, I suppose I was always going to lose this. There's no other outcome. And all Balor is thinking about now is his family. It's checkmate, Beto. Good. Then come on. Just say it in blue. That witches don't exist. You haven't lost yet. You've just given up. So get back up and let's finish this. You really won't let it just end, will you? After everything that happened. Everything you did. How could I just let it end like this? I don't want this anymore. I don't want to be a witch's plaything. Fine then, let us continue. Kinzo's already dead at the start of all games. There are at most 17 humans at Rokujima during the game. Let's end this game here and now, without either one of us holding back. Right, episode 1. First success by anyone without an alibi. Valid. Evan Hideyoshi's deaths happened inside the room by a third party. Some of the corpses can't be identified. It's entirely possible one of the dead was faking it and hid under the bed until we left. During Cannon's death, everyone surviving had an alibi. Then, he committed suicide. No! How about a homicide? I won't say. Then Cannon died in an accident. Oh, what are the 3 deaths in the parlor then? Cupboard X, and one of them could have been faking it. All the corpses are who I say they are. No body doubles here. A Mexican standoff then. That's absurd. I love it. Nachi's death, same as usual. Caused by a trap, plan advanced by the culprit. You're really giving some insane theories this time. But you're not going back to your sister until all the mysteries are solved. Well, at least I saw most of episode 2 already. No, your theory from then actually completely fails. Small bombs in their stomach. There were small bombs in the stomach. I refuse to explain. What the fuck? Jessica and Cannon can be killed by servants, and whoever attacked the group with someone pretending to be Cannon. They'd never make that mistake. Hereditary names, then. Let's suppose that's all true. The locked rooms in the 4th game. Killed with poison gas. Killing them outside the room was impossible. The killer was in the room when they killed them. The first person to discover the bodies just had to plant the key on them then. You're really willing to throw anyone under the bus this time? That's because I won't lose to someone like you. Understand? Yes. Because I'm the evil witch who's ruined everything. It's good you understand that. Then, like a gallant knight, I'll defeat you with one last blow. Great! Nandra's death, the final mystery. Everyone is only declared dead and red after the killings are finished. So one of them could have been alive and killed Naruto, only to die themselves for some reason. Beatrice now is secured atop a pillar of blue spikes. She rests at the top, begging Battler to finally end it. He's won. There's nothing left for him to do but say the final lines to close out the story. But she has one last riddle for him. Battler, I will now kill you. There's no one else left on this island except for you. Nothing outside of this island can interfere. You are alone, yet I am about to kill you. Who am I? You're
Stupid! Absolutely and completely wrong!
She didn't even really try to beat him. Such weak arguments for something they called the final battle.
Though it doesn't really matter, because no matter what happened, Beatrice is always gonna lose, with 100% certainty.
And without the chance for a miracle,
Beatrice is never going to win.
So, you got all that? I mean, you've probably got a lot of questions after seeing that episode summary, and maybe you even think you've got a couple of answers. Now, I'll be happy to hear your own thoughts. Let's get mine out here first, alright? There's far too many small mysteries in this story to really answer them all with one big, perfect theory. Try and tie stuff together like the location of the goad, Battler's real mother, and other such things would be needlessly painful. So instead, I'll just try to propose one theory to answer one question. What happened on Rokujima? To answer that question, we'll have to take it apart in 3 sections. What, who, and why. As a base, I'd like to say that we'll be assuming that most of the non-fantasy elements from the Angie story are true, along with the events we see before the storm arrives on the island. We'll be also running under the assumption that none of the scenarios presented throughout the episode are what actually happened on the island. That one's only because we know Eva has to survive, and I think episode 3 is the game that probably strayed the farthest from reality. First off, what happened? So, we know the results would happen at least. All members of the Ushiromiya family, except for Eva, and the servants that were on the island at the time vanished. We also know that the bodies found were in such a state that it was difficult to tell who died or how many people died. The only death we have confirmed is Maria's thanks to her jawbone being discovered. The police ruled what happened as an accident. And lastly, when Angie went to the island, the mansion was no longer there, and in its place was a cliff. I propose that during the family conference, a bomb was planted in tunnels underneath the mansion. These tunnels came to existence thanks to the help of the US Army when Kenzo initially bought the island. When they went off, they destroyed the foundation of the mansion, causing it to collapse into the ground. This answers how so many people could die in such a way that leaves their bodies horribly mangled, that the police could reasonably rule the event as an accident. Okay then, who did it? Well, that's a tad complicated, and yet simple. Because it was the servants. Specifically, I think it was the ones from the Gospel House, and those generally unseen in the episodes thus far. Now, it's rather simple why I think those people would have done this, but since it's tied into the why, it's much more complicated to explain. Please, strap yourselves in, because explaining the why to what happened is a nightmare, and it's all because of one person. Beatrice. You've definitely been wondering who she is too. She knows so much about what happened on the island and the relationships people had. And thanks to the bottle notes, we know she must have at least been on the island long enough to learn the small details others wouldn't know. Let me explain the Beatrice theory. One day, Kenzo falls in love with a woman called Beatrice. At the time, he's already married, but he's undeterred from his love. In one way or another, this Beatrice is responsible for him getting the massive fortune of gold he has. Secretly, he moves her to Rokujima and takes her to live there. Prior to her death, which happens before the main mansion is finished, she has a child. She dies shortly after this child is born, and Kenzo, traumatized by his lover's death, hides the child away at Kuwadorian. He raises his child to be the spitting image of the woman he loved, in hopes of what? You do not know. But either way, he raises them there until one day she too dies. Stricken by the second death, Kenzo completely loses it. He delves into the coach in hope of finding some way to revive his love. In his attempts, he begins to try to create the perfect vessel to reincarnate the soul of Beatrice into. Where does he get people to attempt this with? It's from the Gospel House, a place he sponsors and personally takes individuals from to bring to Rokujima. Here he spends some time tending to mold the child he brings into the perfect vessel for Beatrice. If he fails, he has the child become a servant under his direct command. This is the Beatrice theory. Kenzo's attempts to groom a child in his past lover Beatrice. Now, this wasn't mentioned during the summary, but we actually know 2 people who grew up at the Gospel House. Shannon and Cannon. Yeah, it was for that reason I obviously started to suspect one of them of being Beatrice. I was especially drawn to them because of their more unique interactions with Beatrice throughout the episodes. However, I couldn't figure out which one of them it could be. It took until my story came around that we come up with a Mirage Sorcière theory. That there are specific individuals in the story who would be well aware of Beatrice's true identity, due to their involvement with her. Those being Genji, given her to have known the secret port for Kumo Dorian, Kumasawa, who Virgilia and Beatrice knew when she was younger, Maria, who played with Beatrice regularly, and Nanjo, for the same reasons as Genji. And it was all those people together that hit me with the realization. No one had ever seen Shannon and Cannon at the same time together besides those people. Sure, people would see Shannon or Cannon, but never both at the same time. Not even both died during an episode. So, Shannon and Cannon are actually the same person. And back down in Rokujima, those two died, and all that's left was Beatrice. Because she, like so many ways that fantasy is used by characters, is a coping mechanism for the tragedies she went through. So, you're suggesting that Kinzo is fighting Rosa for Worst Parent of the Year award, and if he is grooming kids to become his waifu, only to ban them and pretend that never happened, it would definitely do some damage. Yeah, realistically I'm sure that Beatrice has a strong grudge against Kinzo. But I don't think she caused what happened. Actually, when taking into consideration that the note at the end of episode 1 was written by her, and made no mention of the death's been said to find the truth, I think it's obvious what she originally intended. Beatrice was going to kill herself. The trauma had finally become too much and she was going to off herself, leaving money to those who knew the truth and cared for her. Even if she would choose death after what she experienced, I can't be so sure about the others from the Gospel House. I think they would be more than up for some revenge on the family as a whole, and, well, up for the goat too. Which, yeah, Beatrice almost certainly found it. We'll avoid going into that for now. Just know that it's probably in the chapel. So, this is what we think happened at Rokujima. The servants of the mansion, primarily those from the Gospel House, set explosives up beneath the mansion and killed those inside. Afterwards, they ran off with the goat that was left in the chapel. They did this because of the abuse they went through thanks to Kinzo, and their greed for what they saw as owed to them. However, that leaves many other questions unanswered. Why does Beatrice care so much about Balor? What is Balor's sin? Who is Balor's real mother? And what is the answer to the epitaph? And just so many more. But I'll hold off on saying anything more about them right now. Let's save the answers for the next arc. Okay. Good morning. As the story crosses into its second half, the tales woven by the Golden Witch have been exhausted. All that remains now is to understand them. Perhaps new game masters can offer a fresh perspective.